This video is an excerpt from a much longer France travel talk by Steve Smith. To view other topics or to watch Steve's France talk in its entirety, visit ricksteves.com or check out my Rick Steves YouTube channel. Enjoy.
Normandy and the Loire. If you've never been to France before, these two regions are the second most and third most important to see after Paris. And they loop into a perfect route combining with the city of Paris. For about 10 days, you can combine Paris and the Normandy area, Loire, and maybe even a corner of Burgundy if you want. But I'd dart back to Paris probably after that, traveling on my own. Let's travel west of Paris, following the Seine River then, and get into the Normandy countryside. Both of the regions, Normandy and Loire, are actually very close to the city of Paris and easy to access. Following the Seine River west, about an hour, takes you to the Camp David of Impressionist art, or Claude Monet's home, where he spent the last 40 years of his life cultivating his art and his garden. It's a remarkably beautiful place to be, and it's open until November. It's gorgeous any time of the year that it's open 7 days a week now. It's easily day trippable from Paris, train to a short shuttle bus or bicycle rental if you want to, the 4-kilometer last stretch done by bike or bus to get to these gardens. It's crowded, it's popular, so strategize your sightseeing when you go. It's about also halfway to the coast of Normandy, and my favorite first night stop outside of the city of Paris in the seafaring town of Honfleur, with over 1,000 years of seafaring history. Sailors sailed from here to discover Canada, Quebec, and the St. Lawrence waterway, for example, all from this little tiny town of Honfleur, which today just seems like an adorable place to hang out and enjoy its cute buildings and see its principal site, a 100% wood Gothic church, where if you turn it upside down, it looks like it would float on the ceiling because it was built from shipwrights. Remember the history of the city. Honfleur was also a favorite of Impressionist artists who loved to paint the beaches nearby. Remember, you're on the coast of Normandy where the Seine meets the Atlantic. The luminous light drew their attention, and Eugène Boudin, favorite son of the city of Honfleur, has a museum dedicated to him today. A lovely, easy sample of the Impressionist art inspired by this town. But mostly, Honfleur is a lovely place just to hang out, just to get over jet lag if you've just recently arrived. Have a crepe. Remember, you're in Normandy, Brittany. Crepes, anything with apples, cider, calvados, cream sauces, or seafood makes sense. An hour and a half south of Honfleur, the gorgeous cliffs of Normandy line the D-Day beaches that looked entirely different 72 years ago. Here, museums, monuments, cemeteries litter the landscape, paying homage to the British, Canadian, and American soldiers whose courage landed successfully the greatest amphibian invasion of history. It's a remarkable accomplishment. The great news is the museums that exist and the sites describe this so beautifully well to travelers, particularly we Americans. Here's a point of time where we're involved in Europe's history in a very favorable way. Right? Museums dot the landscape. This is my favorite. The largest is in the city of Caen. It's a great World War II museum. There's no question about it. But I'd rather be here, right on the beaches, the Utah Beach. This is the Utah Landing Museum, only reopened 2 years ago, built over a German bunker. You pop out. It does a brilliant job explaining the strategy that had to happen for paratroopers to line behind the lines, for ships to do their work, for landings to happen. Just all had to happen just right on time. It's a gripping event that these museums describe to you beautifully. All of the equipment you'll see, depending on the museum that you're looking at, from all the airplanes. I don't care if it's a B-52, duck, they have lots of ducks, the floating duck ships that we use today, tanks, jeeps, they're all on display somewhere for you to see along this 50-mile stretch of the D-Day beaches. It's such an important site that I highly recommend hiring a local guide. And this is not a cheap event. If you're traveling on your own, join a group minivan tour for about $100 for the day. Private guides run $400 to $500 for the day. right? For your family and you, yes. But if you're going to ever spend that kind of money, here is the place in France to do so, because no matter how good I think my description is in the guidebook to these D-Day beaches, there's no way that I can do justice like Dale Booth does, or Paul Woodidge, or Stuart Robertson. These guys are writing books about it, and you can ask them any question you have, and you can't imagine what your questions are till you go. There are 3 key sites that you must see along this 50-mile stretch. Arromanches, the epicenter of the attack, where the Allies figured that they couldn't take an existing port because they were so fortified by the Germans and protected that they built their own port overnight, towing at Arromanches 17 old ships, 115 huge football-sized blocks of concrete across to surprise the German and arrange them in an arcing fashion in the harbor to be a breakwater. They were supposed to last a few years. They're still there today. This is the view from last year that I took. Right? A remarkable accomplishment. Imagine boats with floating pontoons coming to the shore, and within 1 week, the Port Winston, named for the genius of Winston Churchill, whose idea it was, offloaded over 3,000 troops, 100,000 tons of material, and 60,000 vehicles to support the inland invasion. We had a foothold, finally, in Western Europe. Remarkable accomplishment. There's a cool little museum right there to tell you the history of that particular event and that harbor. The Pointe du Hoc is another important site, the number 2 for you to see on the D-Day beaches. For here, this cliff separating Utah from Omaha Beach on the D-Day beaches juts out far into the cliffs and was housed 6 155-millimeter guns. I'm not a military expert, but I know that they could range 13 miles out into the sea. In order for safe landings to occur and for the successful invasion, they had to run the Germans off that cliff with 6 guns like this. And so, backing up, the Rangers scaled those cliffs, the U.S. Rangers, 200 of them, imagine at low tide because they had to, using ladders and grappling hooks from London fire departments in one of the most gripping events in Normandy D-Day invasion history. That's after we bombed the smithereens out of the top of the site, hoping to destroy those guns in any case. But the Rangers had no idea what they would find when they got to the top. It is a gripping sight to see. And the American Cemetery, where 10,000 almost Americans lie today, crowning white crosses and Stars of David crowning a beautiful bluff above Omaha Beach, the eye of the storm of the D-Day invasions. And the visitor center today presents travelers with a great, different than the museums. It has artifacts, personal possessions of the fellows who lie in the cemetery, establishing for you as a visitor a personal connection to these people. Their names, the state they're from, what mattered to them, letters to their parents, and this kind of thing. The American Cemetery is a powerful site for us to visit. Just 6 miles inland of the D-Day beaches, the city of Bayeux lies in perfect state of repair because it was the first to be liberated. It wasn't bombed in the war. And in that church, the grand cathedral of Bayeux, Notre-Dame de Bayeux, this tapestry hung for a long period of time, commemorating an entirely different invasion. 70 yards long, about a meter high, a yard high, the tapestry of Bayeux told the story of a reverse invasion across the Atlantic of William the Conqueror's victory in 1066 over Harold in England at the Battle of Hastings, just off the D-Day beaches. Oh, and the museum where it's located today presents this tapestry, one of the greatest documents we have from the Middle Ages, in a beautiful fashion for you to visit today. Allocate a whole day to the D-Day beaches at least, then your morning and early afternoon to Bayeux, then head out for an hour and a half south down here to the Le Mont Saint-Michel. A headache to get to unless you have a car, but it's doable. Read the book. It is doable if you don't have a car. It's manageable, but you need to plan ahead. Here in Europe's greatest tidal change region, this island abbey, for a long time an island abbey, sits as a reclusive place for monks to get away from the madding crowd. But in the 1800s, it was no longer an island. This causeway was built to allow tourists to come and access the island so they didn't have to muddy their feet in the mudwaters when it was low tide. 10 years of planning and work have destroyed that causeway and created an entirely new bridge, which today is done. This was 2 years ago when I took this image. That's gone. That bus is over here on this bridge, allowing the water to circulate around the island again, recreating its island fashion. That's a remarkable accomplishment. And for me, as a guidebook writer who sees it all the time, it's thrilling. I think so many sites in France are getting better every year because of the investment of the government, right? Half of the height of the island abbey of Mont Saint-Michel is man-made when you see it. It's a remarkable accomplishment. 1,200 years old. It built, one civilization built on top of the other. Higher and higher they built. Arrive after 5 or you'll run headlong into this group of people. Don't arrive before 5. It's simple, it rhymes. Arrive after 5 and you'll have the city to yourself, the island abbey, all the streets, pardon me, to yourself. Spend the night. 5 different hotels are available at reasonable prices on the island, or where the shuttle buses leave from on the mainland to get you across. The shuttle buses run to the island, I should tell you, every couple of minutes. So staying on the mainland works just as easily. But the key is to see this beautiful, the abbey late in the day with no crowds, or first thing in the morning when it opens. It's also open late at night in the summer months with logs and fires and classical music playing if you want to tour it. But the idea of spending the night is so you see it looking like this. Every day of the year, this beautiful monument is illuminated like this. If you came between 10 and 3, imagine what you would have missed. That's Normandy, too. It's about a 4 to 5 hour car, call it 5 hours, car, 6-hour train ride to connect Mont Saint-Michel in with the heart of the Loire Valley. Then a couple hours right back up to Paris, by the way. Right? This is the happy hunting grounds of kings and queens of France. Because of its strategic location, in the Middle Ages and 14 and 1500s, over 1,000 castles are built in this region. It's crazy. Hunting was the sport of the day and age. The king, this is the king's palace, hunting palace of Chambord. I'll show it. We'll get into more detail in a moment. It's popular because so many people wanted to rub shoulders with the king. Because of all those castles, many of them have been turned into hotels because they can't all be open to tourists for visiting. So here's your chance to stay at a chateau and eat goat cheese. This is if you love goat cheese, the Loire Valley is probably the greatest region for goat cheese. It's also popular for trout and rillettes du porc, kind of a pâté of pork. Bike riding is a romantic notion of the Loire Valley. It sounds great to travel, to ride your bike between castle to castle until you get on that bicycle seat if you haven't ridden for a while and realize it's an hour-and-a-half ride from this castle to that castle. Go ahead if you want to. But my advice is to take it easy. Take a minivan tour if you don't have a car. They work very well. Trains work well in the Loire Valley, believe it or not, mixing in with buses to get you to the chateau, and stay in Amboise, or take a car, rent a car. Many people rent a car just for the day. Amboise on the Loire River, the largest river in the area, is the best base for, I think, for seeing the greatest of the chateau. This is the King's Palace. And it's a lovely little town with lots of hotels and restaurants that we recommend. And the highlight for most sightseers in the little town of Amboise is the home of Leonardo da Vinci. Few people know he ended the last several years of his life here, brought up by the Renaissance King of France, Francois I, just to be smart for him. That's pretty cool. Just be smart for me. I'd like somebody to do that with me someday. The Clos Lucé is the name of his home, and that's nice to visit. And the memories of Leonardo da Vinci are interesting. But what really matters is that in the basement and in the huge park around, they have reconstructed the inventions of this genius who died over 500 years ago. And you'll see tanks in the background, helicopters, the invention of the helicopter, airplane flight, as you wander through this museum, and you wonder, how did he come up with these ideas? It's a remarkable understanding of the genius of Leonardo da Vinci. With a full day outside of Amboise, 2, maybe 3 chateaux for big people is the recommended dosage. Start with Chenonceau. Arrive before 9, leave Amboise at 8:30, arrive about 8:45 here, and beat the crowds. This is the full package. This is the grandest of the Loire Valley Chateau, is Chenonceau. It has beautiful gardens, gorgeous interior with good audio-guided tours for you. We also cover in our guidebook. It has the whole package of the sights of a livable chateau. By the way, in the summertime, the gardens are open till late at night. Consider having dinner at one of the restaurants I recommend in Chenonceau, then wander in for $5 and enjoy just the gardens and the reflected light of Chenonceau at night. The King's Palace, Chateau, Chambord, is about 45 minutes away. Only way to get here is a minivan tour or your car or scheduled buses from the city of Blois. Anyway, 440 rooms, 365 chimneys. You can have a fireplace in a different room every day of the year. This is the King's Castle. It's his hunting palace. He never spent very much time here. The rooms are big. The place is big. So crowds aren't a problem. Doesn't matter when you go. Make sure whatever you do, get to the rooftop, and explore those chimneys that received 365 spires, pardon me, chimneys worth of fire, and understand why they were there. Plan your own hunting attack. Hunting is a winter sport. The trees are deciduous. It's a lot easier to see those animals when the trees are empty of leaves, isn't it? Thus, people come and hunt in the wintertime, and they need heat, and they need tapestries guarding their walls to make it worthwhile for them to go. End your day, maybe the Chateau of Cheverny, a lovely, intimate castle where the Count still lives on the corner right side. And still today, you can tour the bottom 2 floors and get the best sense of the French hunt by visiting in the afternoon and seeing the feeding of the 80 French bloodhound dogs every afternoon of the year at Cheverny. That adds a dimension and a statement to your sightseeing of the Loire Valley and understanding the importance of the hunt. 90 minutes away, if you have another day for your sightseeing in the Loire Valley, the beautiful city of Chenonceau lies on the Vienne River. Here, the feudal castle, Eleanor of Aquitaine, Henry II ruled, a swath of Europe not seen from England to southern France, southwestern part of France in the 1200s. Joan of Arc in the 1400s would come and stay at this castle in Chinon to encourage Charles VII to rally the French against the English and kick them out of France for once and for all. And the feudal fortress is there for you to visit today. There's really not a lot to see there unless you like just the memories of those 2 powerful women, Eleanor of Aquitaine and Joan of Arc. The city below is a lovely town just to spend time in, and I like it as a base for touring chateaux on this side of the Loire region. It's also a good base for nearby, visiting chateaux of the garden varietal. Here at Villandry, if you're into gardens, and even if you're not into gardens, you got to see, this place is remarkable. Herbal plants planted according to medieval monks' ideas, and vegetables and ornamental gardens at the Chateau of Villandry here give the traveler a lovely example of another aspect of chateau life. The Chateau of l'Azay-le-Rideau floats gorgeously on a reflecting pond and is open most nights of the year, many nights, I should say in the high season, until late with a sound and light show. And that's also close to Chinon. This reminds me that several chateaux do these sound and light shows for you. And they're interesting. They're not overwhelming, but they're interesting. But they certainly extend the traveler's day. This information for the Loire and the Normandy region is all covered in our guidebook on France. And again, these 2 regions coupled together with Paris make for an ideal 10-day trip, particularly if you've never been before.
If you've enjoyed this video, you'll find lots more at ricksteves.com and on my Rick Steves YouTube channel. Happy travels, and thanks for joining us.